Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lake Life Weekend Podcast. It is weekend 9 approaching and we have the sun out for all next week. Hopefully the forecast looks good and we are all ready for spring to come. It's coming soon. March is here and I'm excited to have a special guest today, Randy Peterson. He is starting a malt manufacturing company in Detroit Lakes, or he has started already in the recent past, and we are interviewing him for his story about starting a company in Lakes Country and shipping malt to craft brewers all over the nation and hopefully worldwide. Very interesting story, something happening in Lakes Country. Stay tuned for that, and please go to our website lakelifeweekend.com for latest news, area events, some nice pictures from our Instagram account, and to find the archive of all our past podcasts right on our website lakelifeweekend.com. Please come to us and visit in March in Fargo at the Civic Center in downtown, March 22nd, 23rd. Explore Lake Life Expo. Hope to see you soon. And now enjoy our interview with Randy Peterson of Maltwerks from Detroit Lakes. Thank you. Have a great weekend ahead. Well, hello. I'm here in our interview part. I'm here with Randy Peterson. Hello, Randy.
Hello, Dirk. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming out to Perham today. Randy works founded Maltwerks, a company in Detroit Lakes. Before we talk about malt and what's hidden behind the company, who do you all serve, beer brewers, let us hear where you're from, what you did before. I think you have a very interesting story about specialty commodities. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Dirk. Well, I've been in the commodity business since, about 40 years now. Started 1980 with a company out of Fargo, North Dakota, while I was in college at Morehead State University. And it was a family business, and I got involved in commodities the first day I walked in.
So wait, you started this company out of college?
No, it was during college. I started with a company and learned the trade. And later, in 1987, we formed a company called Specialty Commodities with two gentlemen that I met during that travels. In fact, Larry Leitner, one of my old partners, or still is a partner, came to a small business management class at Morehead State and spoke, and I tracked him down and volunteered as an intern. As it really interests me is what they were doing, which they were manufacturing sunflowers at the time. They were doing packaged snack foods, sunflowers, roasted, salted sunflowers, that kind of thing. Intrigued me, and got involved with the business at that time. And later in 1987, we formed Specialty Commodities with Larry Leitner and Alan Stern and myself. And we built the company up, sold it to a private equity company in 2008. And 2014, we sold it to Archer Daniels Midland. And so we were in the commodity trade. We call it the special crops industry.
Yeah, what is that exactly?
It's virtually trading crops that aren't listed on any exchanges around the world. So we didn't trade corn or beans. We traded sunflowers and canary seed and millets, sunflower kernels, dry beans. Then I got into all your pulse crops, peas and lentils, spices, just carried away.
Well, yeah. So first of all, you're a serial entrepreneur. You formed a few companies, and you started very early, I understand?
Yeah, well, during college, I had a company called Timberline Ski Tours. We did ski tours during the college breaks, and had a student painters, painting houses and contracting. So.
And you bred cows when you were in high school, you mentioned earlier?
Well, no, my dad worked for a company called Minnesota Valley Breeders, and he was based out of Underwood, Minnesota, so that's where I grew up, Underwood, Minnesota.
Local.
And so I used to go out on the road with him, and when I was a little boy, and and bred cows to many of the families around this area. Perham, Battle Lake, down through Ashby, as I remember, was his territory. His Minnesota Valley breeders. And anyways, in '66 we moved to Mord, Minnesota. My dad was a state farm agent up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, but you are from Lakes Country.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're from Underwood, and
yeah. My grandparents lived over in Maine Township.
Okay.
And my dad's from Pelican Rapids area.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now commodity, because it's just fascinating, and that will lead to Maltwerks, what you're doing today. When I think, and I relocated here from Germany, everybody knows, when I think of North Dakota and Minnesota as egg country, and I mainly see corn. I know there's sugar beet, but that's not a seed, I guess. But so how did you, sunflowers I see, but lentils and all the products that you traded, were they grown locally too?
No, we traded all the local special crops, but we were importing and exporting both. And so we're trading California tree nuts, for instance. We're trading papaya, pineapple, coconut out of Thailand and the Philippines.
Oh, really?
We're doing specialty nuts like pine nut kernels and pumpkin seed, hemp seed, chilies out of China, botanicals out of Egypt, if you will, Niger seed out of Ethiopia, India, just a really interesting portfolio in the food industry and in the feed industry, in the dog and cat food industry. Like, done a ton of business with the Nelsons here locally at Tuffy's and K&N Group, Kenny Nelson, and know a lot of really good friends like that. And then wild bird, cage bird feeds, small animal feeds. And then you go into the human food side, and we were really, in the beginning point, we were, in the natural health food trade. So organics were in the beginning of when we went out of organic farming, and at one time everything was organic here. That's what's interesting. All farming was organic.
Correct.
When I grew up as a kid. And then GMO came and things changed around the globe, and we were in the natural food sector and in the organic trade at specialty commodities early on.
Huh.
And that's what grew in. We started selling sunflowers, and you go out and sell sunflowers to a customer, and once they bought for the year, they're done. And we'd always ask, well, what else do you need? And they'd need some walnuts, or they'd need papaya, or they'd want some whole millet or something. That's how our portfolio of commodities grew. Especially
it's
commodities.
Fascinating. So out of this small town of Fargo, North Dakota, you traded worldwide seeds, and if I may ask, it didn't all go through here. Like, you were like a brokerage, right?
No. We're a principal, so we're involved with the whole movement, from procuring the commodity itself to transporting to its final destination and getting paid and collecting the money all the way through.
Okay.
So we're liable on the whole transaction. We work with lots of brokers around the globe in commerce. And
also, you were not a broker; you were liable. That's what you mean.
yeah,
so
we're
you
a principal merchandiser, we would call him. And so we'd buy, speculate, if you will, as well, to some degree, but calmly.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
And just to get an idea of the volume, like how many seeds, or is that, I mean, public information, was it like $1 billion in seeds, or like how can one understand that?
Well, dollar volume,
tons of.
We're fortunate. We grew the company to a little over $400 in sales when we sold the company last time. And
400 million.
Second time, yeah, 400 million, and I think it was 425. Anyways, and we had a little over 300 employees at the time.
That's a big company.
So, and that was based out of Fargo, as well as we had offices in California and Chicago and New Jersey, throughout the U.S. And we invested in manufacturing in California and tree nuts primarily. And we did, over the years, we were involved in China, and controlling, key in China always has been controlling quality, and we were involved in trying to put out the best products we could, and helping a lot of our suppliers do so around the globe.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
And now, how long have you been involved in malt? So that's a beer topic. I'm German, so now you created a new company called Maltwerks. It's located in Detroit Lakes, and you are selling malts. Can you explain what can we expect? What are you doing there?
Well, first, I guess I got one of those ancestry cases for Christmas, and I'm just going to find out who I am or what my heritage is.
Oh.
My heritage, though, is Norwegian and German.
Peterson.
Primarily.
Oh yeah, okay.
Peterson. Okay, my dad was mostly 100% Norwegian. My mom German. So,
okay.
Anyways, it's kind of a long story, but I guess when I was retiring in 2016, and during that time my kids became of age and we started going out on traveling together, and we ended up going to breweries. And during that time I'd always end up standing in the malt room looking at the ingredients they were using for brewing, and it might have been malt like we're manufacturing now in Detroit Lakes, or it might have been some orange peel, or maybe they had some star anise there. There was ingredients that I go, well, I can bring probably better flavor profiles than they're currently buying. And so during this, my son was interested in brewing, but he was also interested in becoming a maltster. Was his goal. So we kind of got together and started researching what's available, what the market's like. Is there room for what they would consider a craft malting company, and is the market seeking that kind of operation for specialty malts, specialty flavors? And we found to the fact that they were. So we proceeded, I retired, and then after I retired, we proceeded to travel the globe looking for equipment that can manufacture malt on a small scale.
We are consumers now. We all drink beer, and I know the German purity law, one ingredient is malt, but you manufacture malt. What is malt? Malt is a grain.
Well, malt you primarily made out of barley.
Oh yeah, of course, barley.
And what process is you steep the grain, the barley. Steeping it means you get it wet until you get it up to a 45% moisture, and it sprouts. Okay. Then you drop it in your germination bed, we call it, and during that time you grow the barley out for 3.5 to 4 days, and it gets its rootlets, and endosperm comes out.
Seedlings.
It's a growing form, and so you have to manage that and manage the temperatures of it and the humidity of it, and then you go into the kiln process. Okay, and so you cook it, you dry it down. Similar to the way we just dry grain, if you will, but a little more sophisticated. And we dry it down to a point of about 12% moisture, and then we give it high heat depending on what kind of a malt we're going to make, because you make different malts for different flavors.
Like coffee roasting?
Like coffee roasting,
really?
Very much so. In fact, the boys just this last weekend made something we didn't even know we could make, and which is kind of what I would consider a caramel 30, is the way it's kind of testing out. It's a crystallized malt is what it is. And that's bringing a whole different flavor profile from something that you would have roasted lighter.
So question, I know that I just mentioned the purity law of German beer manufacturing. In order to call a beer in Germany, it must be only produced by 3 ingredients plus water. So the roasting of the malt, so the malt actually gives it its flavor, yeah? That's how we can...
its main base flavor.
So we can make it orangey too, caramelly and cacao-y, chocolatey?
Yep.
By
how you roast the malt.
Without
its
artificial...
final stage.
Ah, really?
It's all natural, just hot air and temperature. Yep.
So there is no artificial, when you buy a drink that's pink and all of a sudden you think it's strawberry, but it is just chemistry. So there is no chemistry, no ingredient other than heating up the malt.
That's basically right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
Yeah. And you do this indoors? Like, do you have a factory?
We have a factory in Detroit Lakes. It's up on the northeast side of town, and up in the industrial park up there. And we bought the building 2 years ago and installed the equipment. And what we have is 6 5-ton malting units, and each
5 ton.
Yeah, so we can have 6 5-ton batches going at once. Now we haven't been able to succeed at the 5-ton level with the equipment, but we're comfortable now making 4-ton lots.
That's a lot of weight.
Still so, and that's, the plant itself is small in comparison. I mean, good gosh, the world market for malt is maybe 30 million tons. Might even be bigger than that. It's huge global.
Sure.
And our plant is made just to make specialty type malts, and we're going to be able to produce around 1,500 tons annually. That's kind of our plant. So we just want to be a small, independent maltster, with a great group of brewers and distillers as our clients.
Are the clients now, okay, that's really, brewers, beer brewers, but you can also serve any kind, like distillers.
Yeah, distillers will make single malt whiskeys.
Of course.
Right? And like we work with Panther over in Osakis is one of our customers. We're just working on a new project with them right now as well, looking at expanding their line in single Scotch malts. And that we primarily use what we import from the UK from Mutton's Malts, one of our partner malting companies that we distribute their product in the tri-state area.
And that's a beer kit. That's something that we can touch. 1 second.
Yeah.
So where do you get the malts from? You buy them?
Well, barley's a big crop here in the state of Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming. That's your main production belt in the United States.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah, by far. North Dakota, I think, still remains number 1 in barley production. And if not, it's number 2. Minnesota's probably number 3 or 4. Wyoming's been coming on strong.
So it's pretty much local if you buy
It's all local. In fact, I farm too, own some farms over in the Pelican Rapids area.
Oh.
My cousin Mark Gressrud and his son Travis Gressrud farm it. Some of our land, we grew barley last year. In fact, we grew a variety called Genesis, and we had a bad lodging problem with the crop, and we still ended up coming off with 70 bushels an acre.
Okay.
And it seems like it just broke dormancy here in the last 2 weeks. We were concerned because for barley to make good malt, you need it to have 98% germination or better. Okay, you want it all to grow and be even. And
it's all Chinese to me right now. So
yeah. So, anyways, we're real excited because we grew this barley on our own farms. My cousin did the farming, and we steeped in our first homegrown family barley at our plant on Sunday night, and so we're hoping it's going to come out really good because there's really strong demand for local barley, and that's what we're promoting.
It's fascinating. So yeah, you cannot get more local, but you said you had a lodging problem and then it needs to get dormant. Those keywords. Lodging means you need to store it in a bin?
Lodging when the crop's growing.
Yeah.
Barley will grow, if it's really good ground, it'll grow fast, grow high.
Yeah.
And right before the 4th of July, I think it was the weekend before, we had a pretty heavy storm that went through the Pelican area, came through this area too.
Sure.
And knocked it down. So it pushed the crop over it.
Oh.
Laid it down, if you will.
Understood.
And it never came back from that, but it kept growing,
Oh.
And we thought we weren't going to have a crop, but in the end, Mark and Travis got it picked up and put it in the bin, and now we're malting it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's quite amazing, actually.
And what do you mean by, yeah, it is. And what do you mean by dormant?
Well, a lot of seeds just naturally, when they come off the fields, have to go through a time, we call it dormancy, until, freezes, thaws a couple times. Maybe just a natural thing that seeds in general do that, and that'll be a weed seed or farm seeds.
Okay.
We see takes time for them they won't typically grow right when they come off harvest, 100%. Okay. Maybe they will, but that's part of the protection mechanism of a plant so it doesn't sprout while it's on the vine. It's my theory.
Okay.
I'm not a scientist, but I have been involved with the planting seed industry in my life.
Yeah.
Done crazy things in my day, and one of them was selling confection sunflower planting seed to China, and we were one of the leaders working with CHS out of Grandin, and Dahlgren out of Crookston, and Mycogen out of Wahpeton, and Jay Schuler, that group down in Seeds 2000. They were one of our competitors, so it was fun, and we both brought confection sunflowers to China. I think Jay was the first, and I followed him.
Huh.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Circling back to your own malt, like Sunday, you worked or
the boys
processed?
did. Yeah, a couple of guys. They steeped in the Genesis barley that we grew. Steeping in, they put it into the steep tank, and then we fill it with water, and it goes. You basically submerge it in water, and then 12 hours later, approximately, you drain the water out and let it air rest, and then you'll steep it again, and either 2 to 3 times to reach your and drain it, let it rest, and because your goal is to get it to 45-46% moisture before you drop it into your germ bed.
Okay.
And then you manage the moisture of your bed, your growing barley.
Yeah.
You want to maintain the temperatures, and that's where the magic of our maltsters come in. They know how to manage that.
Huh.
Because there's certain times where they want to keep it at X temperatures, and then at the final process they want to bring the temperatures down of the grain to try to break down the beta glucans and some of the different alpha mannanides. So I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
I'm
sounds
just
like it,
watching. These guys are way too sharp for me. Young men.
So what is the specialty about the Genesis? Like, is it what taste or what is so
Genesis,
unique about it?
Yeah, well, there's different varieties of barley that are grown, and Genesis is one of the varieties. That was released by North Dakota State University, I believe.
Really?
Another variety that we really like, and we've had more success than Genesis in malting, is called Synergy, and we're kind of going to be promoting that variety to grow this year. We're going to try some of it on some of our own acreage, and we got right now actually looking for a couple of growers for it. That's reported to have some lodging problems in the past, but we think it was just one of those years. And there's other varieties, and every barley is very interesting to me that they have different malting characteristics. They have different flavor characteristics.
Yeah.
But when I talk about malting characteristics, they're easier to malt. Some are easier to malt than others.
Okay.
Which was fascinating to me. I had no idea that was the case. But some you have a hard time breaking it down, the chemistry of the seed. Others are easier to get your final goal, which in the malting process, you're breaking down the sugars and the starches within the seed.
Right.
That's what you're changing.
Huh. So your goal is 1,500 ton malt production per year.
Yep.
And then how many different tastes or varieties? Is it like 5?
Well, it's
10?
probably, right now we're focused in on 4. And after this last weekend, now it looks like we might have a 5. We're not sure if we can repeat it exactly, because there's actually a malfunction of some of our software.
Oh,
and an
accident.
It was an accident, and it created something that's of value.
This is how
that
stainless
always happen.
This is how stainless steel was invented.
I'm sure.
The Krupp family in Essen, my hometown, invented stainless steel by accidentally mixing different varieties of steel together, and then whoops, there was Nirosta. Nirosta means never rust. Anyways, so you created a 5th product.
Wasn't me. It was the equipment and the maltsters.
Well, sure, but still. How many people work for you at that factory or that plant?
Right now we've got 10 people.
10 people?
10 people employed, yeah.
Wow. And chemists or
well, let's see, right,
agriculturists?
we've got 6 operators and maltsters, and we run 24/7.
Really?
But our shifts are day shifts, and nights we trust in the computers to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And they need to be checked on, just like I was saying, this malt they ended up making. And so
it's all indoors?
All indoors.
And it's computerized? I mean, like, it's a very
love to give you a tour sometime.
I would love to.
And but I mean, they're all individual vessels. They're all enclosed, and it's all food safe.
Sure.
And within the manufacturing process, we have a kill step as well. So, and we package off into 50-pound bags or into totes, and we'll be moving into bulk, as our volume picks up.
Sure. And your furthest away customer, or like your closest, like who?
Well, like Disgruntled here in Perham is brewing. Pete over there is brewing with us. Copper Trail in Alexandria.
Oh, really?
Ashby Brewing down in Ashby's brewing. ABC, Lakeside. Junkyard up in Moorhead. Drunken Wrath in Moorhead, or over in West Fargo. We got clients down in Twin Cities, Lakes and Legends, a whole list of them.
So we
over Hudson, Wisconsin, we've got clients. Keeps growing every week.
So we are enjoying your product already without knowing that it came right out of Detroit Lakes.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah. And now you just mentioned you have a brewing kit that you are launching from the UK. What is that?
One of the groups we distribute for, partners company is called Mutton's Maltings out of Stowmarket, UK. Mm-hmm. And they've developed, they're huge manufacturer of malt. Great people, and we've become real good friends and partners with them. And they've been one of the first in the home brew industry in the United States, bringing brewing kits to the market, spray malts, malt extracts, beyond just malts. And they've developed what's called a brewery in a bag. Mm-hmm. And it's quite interesting. Comes in a tube, and it's in a specially designed bag that'll hold 30 pints. No, excuse me, 25 pints. And what it is malt extract and hops. Uh-huh. You just add water, mix it up, add yeast, put a cap on it, and 30 days later you have 25 pints of beer.
It just works, ferments,
and ferments on its own. It's a pouch, if you will.
Yeah.
It turns into a little keg. It's got
like a wine pouch that you in a box.
Like a wine pouch in a box. Same thing.
And that's where the beer is brewed in.
And it's brewed in that bag.
And you tasted it?
It's fantastic. We got 4 different. We've got a dark ale, a porter. We've got a pale ale. We've got a session IPA. And we got a golden ale. Huh. And, it depends on your taste buds, but I like them all. They're all good.
Well, I would like to try one. That sounds really interesting. So you got lots going on. So where do you see the future? You had 10 employees. You said your goal is 1,500 tons. How much do you need more? How is that? What's your business plan, if I may ask? Like, do you need 3 more buildings? How is that going to grow?
Well, we've got a lot of different plans we're looking at going. One is we use a lot of water. We have a lot of wastewater, and we have a lot of heat exhaust that we're wasting. So we're doing a study right now. Is putting in greenhouses in our yard over there. We've got about 2.5, 3 acres we can expand on.
Fascinating.
Where we're at. So we're doing a study on that, where we believe we can use our heat in the winter in particular. To heat the buildings and add some solar and geo for cooling our plant, and utilizing for our wastewater to water the plants. Huh. So rather than having it all go back to the city, if we can and we're also looking at, during the process of malting, we have these rootlets we clean off the finished malt, and we were looking at a study where we'd compost those for our earth to grow our herbs or whatever crops we're going to grow.
Oh, sure.
Or flowers, I guess flowers are probably the most profitable, I'm being told. Anyway, it's real interesting. I know there's a real demand for smaller greens like rosemary and cilantro and parsley and those.
You could grow that in greenhouses there.
Oh, yeah.
I was always wondering why we don't grow, when I went to the store, and tulips are just freaking expensive here.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking, why don't, in the Netherlands, it's tulip country, right?
Oh, my gosh.
But why don't we just have greenhouses full of tulips here, grow them, and then so I think you just said flowers are the most profitable.
That's what I'm being told. It's quite fascinating.
I'm fascinated too. I'm all with you with greenhouses and year-round flower growing.
Yeah, well, and if it looks like we're on our trajectory that this new business is gonna grow, we're seeing every day we're getting new clients, and our portfolio of ingredients we're offering is growing.
Yeah.
You know, you go to maltwerks.com and you can buy our brewery in a bag there, but you can also see our whole product offering.
Is it more for professional brewers?
All professional at this point.
Oh, so there's no, like, the home brewing people have like their own little productions. Do you also sell small quantity?
Well, we sell home brew shops.
To them.
And the home brew shops distribute to the home brewing community. Is the way our distribution model.
So your product there's a dealer in between.
Yep.
So a consumer cannot directly.
Not at this point. We're looking at doing that.
Sure.
Consumer direct business.
Yeah.
In fact, with Ryan, our mutual friend, is guiding us, if you will.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I think that was a really interesting story, hidden in Lakes Country and operating national, right?
Oh, yeah.
All states and
All
potentially
states.
International?
Yeah, in fact, I'm working on exporting some of our malts to Korea right now.
Really?
And ingredients. Also working into Southeast Asia, Indonesia, into Singapore. The craft brewing industry is growing global. It's not just in America. It's not just in Otter Tail County.
Right.
You know, it's fascinating, and it employs, it's a whole independent movement.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the estimates are, and it employs now like 375,000 people throughout the United States, and that's a huge win.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and, you know, to some respects, it hurts the big guys, you know, in Bev, if you will, you know, but this is, you know, local communities getting together places of old.
Right.
And it's growing. It's fascinating, and kids are having birthday parties at breweries nowadays. You know, it's incredible to me.
Well, yeah, I have no objection.
No, neither do I.
Yeah, no, really interesting story. I usually finish interviews off to ask, because you are from Lakes Country, you just mentioned Underwood, Pelican Rapids, then relocating to Moorhead, but still Lakes Country is in you, and now you reside here.
Yeah.
So what is lake life to you?
Oh, I love the lakes. Growing up in the prairie over in Fargo, Moorhead, the flat country, we'd come to lakes every weekend. We were fortunate, and, you know, bought a cabin in, when the heck was that, early 90s, and come down every weekend. Love to fish, love to hunt, snowmobile, you know, ice fish. Just love the great outdoors, love to hunt.
Connected?
You know, we
year
kayak every year round. We participate in the great outdoors that our region offers.
So your children grew up in Lakes Country with you, so to say?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And if may I ask, how many children do you have?
I have two. One daughter, she lives in Eden Prairie, and my son lives in Detroit Lakes.
Oh, okay, and your son, I think, is operating with you?
Yep, Kai Peterson's his name.
Okay.
And he's operating as a maltster at the plant. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the quality control team.
It's a family business.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
In fact, getting a lot of people, you know, our team's kind of migrating from the Perham area over to Detroit Lakes. We got some great guys from this local area, just along the Otter Tail River here, that are working for us.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I
think there's something in the water in Otter Tail County. I don't know what the deal is, but there's all kinds of entrepreneurs, and there's some great people. Not cutting down Becker County. I'm from over here in Becker. You know, but
no, I agree. It's a very unique area, and lots of secrets. A lot of good stuff happening that one doesn't see on the first glimpse.
Oh my gosh, there's some great people out in the, all over the place here.
Yeah.
I hear great stories. I met a gentleman the other day. Fascinating story that you know, built a business in the Ukraine.
Really?
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I really enjoyed you being part of our program and learning so much about Maltwerks, and I can't wait to schedule like a visit and see the production in person.
Stop in anytime.
Yeah.
Love to give you a tour. If I'm busy, we'll get you a tour right away with one of the guys that know what's going on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I think you're coming to our expo, hopefully, with your little kids, and then maybe people can even learn more about that beer in a tube, beer in a in a box there.
Yeah, we plan to be that. That's at the Civic Center in Fargo, right?
22nd, 23rd of March. It's coming up very quickly.
Perfect. Well, glad to join you there, Dirk.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend.
Okay, thanks for inviting us.
Thank you. Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, and if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com, and you have a wonderful weekend ahead.